Welcome everyone to Live from NCCE. It's another exciting session. We're getting ready for the holidays, and then after that, soon it'll be NCCE 2025 with keynote speaker Matt Miller. That's right, Matt Miller of Ditch That Textbook is here with us and will be here with us at NCCE 2025. Love the book, have all the collections, and there's a new one I can't wait to hear about. But Matt, can you give us a taste of maybe what excitement we're going to hear from you in Seattle in February?
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, I'm thrilled that I get to do this. I've heard such good things about NCCE for so long and just have been really interested to see what all is going on up there. So excited to get to go spend some time with you all in February, and such a gorgeous part of the world too. I mean, I'm out here in the Midwest where everything's flat and there's not a whole lot of water nearby and everything. So I'm very, very excited about that. But yeah, I'm going to be there as the closing keynote speaker. I'll also get to do a variety of presentations. And gosh, I've been talking an awful lot recently about so many different topics, AI related topics and student engagement topics. And so I'll get to kind of like pull some of my best and favorite stuff together and give everybody some real super practical things that they can use in the classroom right away. And of course, a lot of it, like you said, Tammy, is going to be based on my new book, AI for Educators, which you can get on Amazon, paperback or Kindle. So this is kind of like your primer, like your introduction into AI, and what is it all about? How does it impact the classroom? How do we prepare students for the future? So those are some of the big questions that I've been wrestling with as I've been thinking about AI myself.
Take it away. We can't wait to hear about it.
Awesome, wonderful. So what I thought I'd do today is give you just a little blend of a whole bunch of that stuff, really, because I know, especially since since ChatGPT came around, what's been, gosh, almost 2 years ago. I know for a lot of us, we started using ChatGPT or another AI assistant like it, and we're just trying to figure out, like, what are the implications on the classroom? If you were like me, I had such a roller coaster of emotions when I saw it for the first time. It was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. Look at the cool things it can do. It can write things and it can summarize and it can be creative. And then, oh no, look at all the things this can do. What are kids going to use this for? Are kids going to use this to cheat? Will adults use this to cheat? What does cheating even mean? And what if this gets in the wrong people's hands? And I don't know about you, but I've just been on this like up and down roller coaster ride ever since. And I'm still trying to kind of figure out how it fits and everything. And I know lots of folks are still trying to do that too. So I thought that I would spend a good chunk of my time here today with you all, sharing some of the practical ways that I like seeing some of these AI tools put into place in the classroom. And so I wanted to start off here with my slide deck of 10 AI-based upgrades to teaching and learning. This is one of my favorite breakout sessions to get to present, and I feel like this is really sort of the goal for a lot of us when we saw this technology come into being. Is we're trying to figure out, how does this fit into teaching and learning? Can we actually level up our teaching using these tools? And then another big question that I think there's a lot of misconception about is, can it support student critical thinking? It was interesting. I did a workshop here in Indiana at a school district, and they did a great big survey of all of the parents asking about their impressions about AI and its impact on learning. And that was the big thing. They were like, we don't want our kids to lose out on critical thinking. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, oh my gosh, there's all of these ways that you can support critical thinking. And so I pulled a whole bunch of those together into this slide deck. And so if you're watching this and you want to be able to get your hands on this, this is the same resource document that I make available to everybody whenever I do this presentation live. You can go to ditch.link/upgrades to get this. And so it's just a simple Google Doc with a whole bunch of things. You'll notice that it started as 10 AI-based upgrades, and I just keep adding things to it. I can't really help myself. So now it's up to like 17, I think, inside of that document. So it's lots and lots of things. The thing I like about this document too is that it has copy and paste prompts. So if you're using ChatGPT or Google Gemini or Microsoft Copilot or Anthropic Claude or any of those major AI models, you can copy some of these prompts right out of the document and paste them into one of those and just make a couple little adjustments, and you can go try out any of this stuff that we're talking about. So anyway, I wanted to just jump in here and show some of my favorite ways that we can do some of that leveling up. And the first one is a super simple one. If you're watching this, this is probably, if you've done any dabbling in AI, this was probably your first step into all of that. And that was to do a lesson design deep dive, to use it to give you teaching ideas and lesson planning and everything. And so I won't go too in depth into this because you've probably already tried some of this, but I do get a question. Sometimes people ask me what my favorite AI assistant is. Am I a ChatGPT guy? Am I a Google Gemini guy? And I like to say my favorite AI assistant is 4 AI assistants. I was actually just doing this within the hour leading up to this presentation. I was working on a conference proposal for a session on AI literacies, and I was just kind of like brainstorming with AI. And instead of picking one AI tool, I just used all 4 of them. Because you've got those 4 main models, they call them the frontier models: ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Microsoft Copilot, and Anthropic Claude. And so what I'll do is I'll open up each one of them in a separate tab in my browser. I'll write the prompt once, copy it, and then submit it to all 4 of them, and then just see what I get. In fact, when I was doing this conference proposal, I asked all 4 of them for titles, possible titles for my presentation. And I got such a variety of different things because I asked it from all of these different ones. So if you're not doing that already, I highly suggest it. But I know a lot of folks, their first entry into using AI as a teacher is to gather ideas for lesson plans. And so you can go as big as you want. The prompt that I have on the screen is write me a 2-week unit for a middle school social studies class on the Peloponnesian War. See, I like to think of these AI assistants as an infinitely zoomable, infinitely scalable teaching plan. See, what we're doing right now is we're taking the 35,000 foot view of it by looking at a great big 2-week unit. And of course, you can use those frontier models that I was talking about, ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, Claude, like any of those or any combination of those. Or of course, you've also got your teacher-centric AI assistants. If you're watching this, you're probably familiar with Magic School or School AI, or Brisk. Brisk Teaching has a good option for all of this too. So really, any of these will get for you. And the other thing I think is important to remember is that you don't have to have the perfect prompt. For a while, people were asking me, what are your favorite prompts to use with AI for teachers? I'm like, just ask it for what you want. That's my favorite prompt. And then if it doesn't give you exactly what you want, you just keep asking it follow-ups, So I don't think you have to be very precious with the way that you word things. And so it gives you this sort of general 2-week unit. But what if you want to zoom in and actually plan one of these days? Like, what if you're looking at day 5 and you're going, okay, well, what about details of that? Like I said, infinitely scalable, infinitely zoomable teaching plan. So you just ask it to zoom into one of those days. Can you give me details on what day 5 would look like? And then it does it. And so now you've got sort of a minute by minute plan. Is it going to be exactly what you want? Probably not. But it's a first draft. And that's where I think we can definitely save a lot of time. And so, we look at all of this and we kind of pick and choose and we take what we like out of it. The other thing that's nice too is that you can continue to zoom even further down. So if you look at the primary source analysis that's supposed to take 30 minutes, you could always ask it, for detailed plans on all of that. If there's a group discussion, you can ask it for discussion questions. You can ask it for suggestions on how to keep that discussion going well. So again, you can zoom way, way, way down, or you can look at it from the big picture. And of course, with all of this, it gives you ideas. And you can have some fun with it too. So for instance, we're going to stay on this Peloponnesian War idea and say, summarize the Peloponnesian War on a 7th grade level and fit Taylor Swift song titles and lyrics in as often as you can. Are you curious about this one? So here's what it comes up with. Greece's dramatic breakup, the Peloponnesian War, Taylor Swift edition. It's like a bad breakup, shaking it off with their fancy navy. I don't know if that's like, that I think the kids might call that cringy. That's definitely cringy. And they're never getting back together attitude. And so even if they think that it's cringy, they still might get a kick out of it. So anyway, just having some fun with that can be good. And like it says here, it doesn't even have to be good to be usable, because you can always give them stuff that is cringy, and ask students to improve on it. If it's not great, how could they improve on it? A couple of other things that I really like. I'll do some of these sort of quickly, like asking it for analogies to help students understand. Analogies are, it's a best practice we've used for a long time, where we take an understanding of something, the way that students understand something in their own lives, and take sort of that structure and then apply it to something new and novel so that they can understand it in a similar way. And so, asking it for analogies. If I'm sticking with the Peloponnesian War, this gives me a great big analogy of how it's similar to two rival soccer teams, and how they're different, they're good at different things, and how there was a clash, and how there were other teams involved in the league, kind of like there were other Greek city-states and so on and so forth. So if you've never used it for analogies, I think that's a pretty good one. I want to give you something a little bit more concrete. And this was one of the things that I loved about the potential of AI in class, is for it to give you lots of examples. And I even thought about how you could use those examples and have students kind of like remix and work on them. And so I immediately started thinking about this activity that I've since called the Frankenbot activity, to scaffold student writing. So here's the idea behind this one. And this is actually something that you can use in your own class if you want. And if you'd like to get my template that you see on the screen here, you can go to ditch.link/Frankenbot to be able to get that, that Google Slides template. So here's the idea behind this activity. Instead of telling students, write me an essay about this topic, here's what you do instead. You have an AI assistant like ChatGPT write you 3 essays about a topic. So my example here on the screen with the teeny tiny little text that you can't read is about why the United States should not have used an atomic bomb in World War II, just as sort of like a provocative twist on what they might be studying in history. And so we asked ChatGPT for an essay, and we stick it over here in the first page of our slides template. But then we asked ChatGPT for another example, but make it a little different. Give it some different reasons, or maybe make it a little more creative, or a little more, I don't know, a little more optimistic, or a little more pessimistic, or whatever, however we want to change it. And then we ask it for a third example. Of course, the nice thing about asking for examples from AI is you can ask it over and over and over again, and it never rolls its eyes at you, which is fantastic, So you get these 3 examples, and imagine that this 4th page is blank. Now it's ready for students. And so we take this template with these 3 examples, and we hand it to the students, either through our learning management system or with a link or whatever. And we just tell them, okay, here are some example essays. First of all, I want you to read them. And the fact that they're reading a variety of different essays can also help them improve their writing skills. But then we ask them to copy different parts out of those 3 examples into the final version, which we're going to pretend like is blank over here. And so they're going to copy different parts over it. So it's almost like putting together a puzzle. The pieces are already there. We're just assembling them together at the end. And then once they look at the final version, then they can make adjustments to it as necessary. They can change the tone, they can change the wording and everything. And then we can even ask them afterwards why they made the decisions that they did. So I like this because all of those examples are AI generated. But what it also does is, for your students who are not necessarily the strongest writers, maybe they're like emerging writers. Maybe this is good for someone who's like a English as a new language, type of student, where they're making decisions as writers, but they don't have the burden of the entire essay on them. And so, this is just another example where I think AI can support us and also help us to scaffold things in the right way, so that we can build up our writers and give them the support that they need. So I wanted to show you that one real briefly too. And then here's one other one. This is another fun activity that really you could do in just about any grade level or subject area. This is a fun little activity called Be the Bot. And one thing that I like about this, especially for folks that are new to AI, and if they're like, oh man, I don't want to just turn my students over to the bots. I don't want the AI to just teach all of my classes for me. Well, it's not. And with both of these examples that I just showed you, the teacher is the one driving the AI. And sometimes that's a good place to start. So you'll notice with this one, the AI assistant is responding to things, but students aren't like directly interacting with it. Now, there are some really good tools out there that will let students do that. But if you're just sort of getting into this and need a starting point, I think this could be really good. So here's how the Be the Bot activity works. And again, I got another Google Slides template for you, which you can find at ditch.link/bethebot. And so with that, here's how the activity works. The template has 2 text boxes in it, super, super basic. So on the text box up at the top, you're going to tell the students what you're going to be asking AI about. So, so when it comes to that, we're going to prompt the AI about something that we've been studying. I do this a lot whenever I do workshops at schools and school districts and in events. I'll run a Be the Bot exercise. It's super fun. And I'll always ask them about like their town or their city. So for instance, if we're in Seattle and we're doing this, in fact, let me just go ahead and jump out of here and let's go to Google Gemini, and it looks like we're logged in, which is good. And so I might do a prompt kind of like this, where I say, I'm a tourist in Seattle and I have 2 days to explore the city. Suggest the best places for me to go. So I'll take that prompt and I'll give it to, if I'm doing a teacher workshop, I'll give it to the teachers. If I'm a teacher in the classroom, I can do a prompt kind of like that, where basically the AI has to make some judgment calls. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn to the students and say, okay, what do you think the AI is going to say? So what does this do for the students? Well, several things. First of all, it forces them to do some recall. And cognitive science tells us that recall activities, this thing called retrieval practice, strengthens long-term memory. So the fact that they have to do that is already strengthening their long-term memory. But then there's higher order thinking involved in this too, because now they have to take all of the things that they know about that topic, and they have to understand that the AI can't give them every single possible answer. So it has to narrow it down to some extent. So now they're making judgment calls. They're kind of like ranking and prioritizing and justifying their responses. So really there's critical thinking sort of all over this. And plus it's a collaborative activity, so the students are working together. So whatever it is, if we're talking about what are the 3 most crucial characters in the novel that we're reading, or what are the 5 most important elements on the periodic table to sustain human life, or what are the 3 most important historical events that happened to shape Europe to be the way that it is today. You got like all of these different things where you can rank and justify and everything. So we ask the students to do the work first, and then they're going to compare their answers to what the AI comes up with. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and do the Seattle one. Nobody's surprised that Pike Place Market was the #1 thing that it suggested. Nobody's surprised a bit. And that the Space Needle is on there too. Then it's got Elliott Bay, the Fremont neighborhood. It's got take a ferry to Bainbridge Island for a scenic escape. Return to Seattle and enjoy a meal in the trendy Capitol Hill neighborhood. I don't know Seattle too much. I've been a couple of times. So I've been to the Space Needle and I've been to Pike Place Market. So, I've been those places. Now, whenever this happens, whenever you do this activity, one of the things that I love is that as soon as the AI responses get up on the screen, there's a buzz in the room. There's like an audible buzz, because people are already comparing their lists and they're like, ha, I knew it. Or they're going, wait a second, this thing on my list is not on that list. What's going on? Come on, Chat GPT. Come on, Google Gemini. And so there's always, discussion. And then afterwards, people can make their case for why a thing on their list should have made the AI list, or what they think about the AI list. How would they rank it? Thumbs up, thumbs down, or anywhere in between. So there's a ton of little twists that you can do on this. But of course, what are we doing throughout the whole thing? We're talking about the content. We're talking about whatever it is that we're learning in our class. The AI is just a mechanism to be able to do it. Plus, added benefit. I think this is a little add-on that we can start adding in lots of places in our classes, is that whenever we look at the results on the AI, it gives us a chance to critically analyze how AI handled the topic. And so do we think that it was right? Is everything look accurate? Are there any biases? Is there anything missing? Is the way that it worded things right? Are there things that are out of date or out of place? So like, if we take a critical eye to it, it starts to teach students that little AI literacy of check everything out. Don't just assume that AI's got it right. Examine for biases, like all of those things. And see, in that way, this is a big thing I really believe when it comes to AI and its place in the classroom, is that we don't necessarily have to have units about AI. We don't have to have, a lesson where we talk about, you can do some of that stuff if you want to, but for classes where, we don't teach computer science as part of our standards, this is like a little teeny tiny side conversation that we can have whenever AI is involved to help students to see how it's used in real life. So anyway, that's one place that I think that you can definitely do that. I've got some more things when it comes to these AI-based upgrades to teaching and learning that you can find in the document, which again, by the way, is right there at ditch.link/upgrades. But I wanted to take a little bit of a turn because these last two things involved templates. And one of the big things that I've gotten to share a lot on my Ditch That Textbook website are Google Slides and PowerPoint templates. I don't know about you, but I use these things all the time whenever I teach. It's always nice whenever you find a file that somebody has made for you that you can use for an activity that just doesn't take a whole lot of prep time. You can just make a copy of it, adjust it as necessary, and just assign it out to your students through your learning management system. And so that's really what my templates library is all about. So if you want to go check it out, you can find it at ditchthattextbook.com/templates. ditchthattextbook.com/templates. Actually, if you don't want to type as much, I think you can just go to, ditch.link/templates. That's less letters for you to type. So anyway, you get to our sort of landing page here. You might like our little slogan up here at the top, don't do the work if you don't have to. And then if you scroll down through, you'll see that, the Frankenbot template is down here. We were just looking at the Be the Bot template, which is down here also. There's lots and lots of them. I'm going to scroll way back up to the top again. But you'll find these buttons. Each one of these buttons takes you down to a section of a whole bunch of these Google Slides and PowerPoint templates in this variety of different topics. This is the kind of stuff that sometimes people put on Teachers Pay Teachers, and it'll charge you like $2 or $4 or $10 for a bundle or something like that. And I looked at that at one point and I was like, no, I'm just going to put them up on my website, make them available for free. This is the kind of stuff I would put on TPT, but I just made the conscious decision that I wanted to give these to you all for free. So if you haven't taken a tour through here, my favorite section in this whole thing has got to be the social media templates. The fun thing about this is that this can help make learning feel like some of the social media sites that students use on a regular basis. For instance, there's an Instagram stories template right here. And all it is it's a bunch of slides that look like a phone with the Instagram stories user interface on it. And so it gives you the opportunity to turn your regular writing assignment into a series of images or videos. Say, for instance, you're studying Romeo and Juliet in freshman English. You could pose this question instead of asking students to write an essay. You could pose this question in an Instagram stories template and ask, what would Juliet's Instagram story look like during Act 2, Scene 2? You know, the famous balcony scene in Romeo and Juliet. That's kind of a cool prompt, right? And students have to know their stuff to be able to respond to that. So then what do? Maybe they take selfies of themselves posing in the different, the different parts of that scene. Maybe they use an AI image generator like Microsoft Designer or Ideogram or Dolly to generate images to throw into all of those. I mean, you got all sorts of possibilities. And then, of course, they can use text to explain why they put the pictures in the way that they did and, to justify their responses. We've got the social media reply template that sort of mimics Facebook. I know with some of the kids, you're probably going to have to explain to them what Facebook is because that's not really their thing. Some of them say that that's like their parents' social media, that that's their grandparents' social media. So anyway, there's that. We also have some other fun ones up here. I love the Yelp review template. So if you're studying like a place and you wanted to have students fill out sort of a fake Yelp review, first of all, it's a way for them to recall information about that place. But then also you could also teach perspective through that, because with Yelp reviews, there is a reviewer and the reviewer says what they think about it. So for instance, if your students are reading a novel and there's a certain location that's really, really important, and then one of the main characters had something happen at that location, how would that character review this place on Yelp? Maybe they give it 1 star because it was a terrible situation and they just have to explain why it was so bad. Or maybe they give it 5 stars because it was the best day of their lives or something. So like any of this stuff, there's just a ton of really good stuff. I really love all of these Amazon ones on here. You can create an Amazon homepage because, if you surf Amazon long enough, it figures out what you like and it tries to suggest you things that it thinks that you will like. So if you're studying someone or a period of time or something, like what would Amazon suggest? Based on all of that. The product page is fun too. There's just a ton of really good stuff. In fact, I just put this one up, this Let's Go Viral writing activity. It's like a TikTok style writing activity where students kind of like think about something that they've been learning and then they write about it as if they were preparing a TikTok video. So they have to think about the hook that's going to hook people in. They got to think about the video shots that they're going to make. They got to think about the text labels and the hashtags and all of that stuff that you think about through TikTok. But of course, you're just writing about whatever it is you've been studying. So anyway, there are game templates here too. There are interactive activities templates. There are these fun, what are those called? Infographics templates. And then I think down here under the graphic organizers, this is where the Frankenbot and the Be the Bot were. So there's just tons and tons of good stuff here. So anyway, if you haven't checked this out yet, it's at ditchthattextbook.com/templates if you want to see any of these. So to sort of start to wrap this up, I wanted to show you just a couple of other little things. These are some of my favorite things that I put out there to help teachers out. So for instance, there's this. I wanted to tell you all about this. This is a new resource that we've created recently called our AI Teacher Toolkit. And so, this is a great big PDF ebook full of a whole bunch of, like it says here, 25-page AI teacher toolkit. It's got AI tools, it's got lesson ideas, it's got prompts, it's got ideas for parents, just all sorts of really good stuff in this really fun sort of comic book style. My social media and blog editor, Carly Mora, was the one who ended up designing this, and I thought she did a fantastic job. And we put it out there for free. So if you go to ditch.link/toolkit, so that's ditch.link/toolkit, you'll get to this page right here. Just put in your email address and we're going to send that toolkit right to you. So, and once you get there, it ends up looking like this. It's just a PDF file and it's got a whole bunch of really good stuff. It's got lots of tools that you can check out. There's some of the prompts that you can just copy and use. There's some by the way lessons. We talk about what those are. some ways that parents can use it at home, just all sorts of stuff. And then this is a printable page that you could actually send home with your students if you wanted to. So that's the AI toolkit. I also wanted to tell you that if you wanted to join our email newsletter, if you've been seeing all of this stuff on this video and you thought, oh, wow, this is good stuff, I'd like to get some of this. Well, my email newsletter is where it's where we share this stuff first, before it shows up in my workshops, before it shows up in my conference presentations, before it shows up in my books, it shows up in the email newsletter. So if you'd like a little steady drip of practical ideas like these in your inbox, just go to ditch.link/join. And you'll get to this page right here where you can put in your email address and you can join our email newsletter. And then, like Tammy mentioned earlier, I do have my AI for Educators book. This is what it looks like right here on Amazon. So, if you're still trying to wrap your brain around AI and, what are its implications in school, I know a lot of people are thinking about the cheating and academic integrity side of things. There's a whole chapter about that too. And also some things about how to prepare students for an AI future. It gives you some ideas around all of that stuff. We had lots and lots of people check out the book. So anyway, those are some of the things that I've been thinking about recently. Some of the things that I know are that seem to have been helpful to folks in my presentations and on my site and everything. And so, Tammy, I just kind of did a great big brain dump of a whole bunch of ideas. I hope that's okay.
Oh no, it's fantastic. As a charter user of Ditch That Textbook, this came out in what, 2017?
2015, yeah.
2015. Okay.
Yes.
And I still have the sticker, right? The different
Those are
innovative.
limited edition. That's like vintage, Tammy. That's good.
Oh, look what else I found.
Oh, wow. That's the Maverick Teacher from my Tech Like a Pirate book. I love it.
Right.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so I'm a charter user, and to see how your resources have grown, and we appreciate that the teacher's favorite F word is free, right? So just a wealth of information. And when you're presenting at NCCE 2025, I just can't wait, because the audience is going to be so excited, so overwhelmed, and so ready to go back into their classrooms, armed with the lesson plans and the resources and the templates that you've shared today, and the ones that you'll share with us then. Thank you so much for your time and talent, for being here. We're looking forward to seeing you at the conference. And by the way, if you have not registered for the conference, that's ncce.org/conference. And go ahead and pre-register and come on up to Seattle. Unless you're in Canada, then come down. So join us then, February 26th through 28th. We'll be looking forward to seeing you at Live from NCCE, or excuse me, at NCCE 2025. And Matt, we are so excited to have you as closing keynote. So can't wait. Thank you so much. And everyone, thank you for being here with us today on Live from NCCE.